that I'm going to show you here. Now, jumping into the codes, I have an empty list. And by the way, here, you may ask what environment I'm using. I'm using Visual Studio Code, which is what I will recommend. I mean, there is many other IDE out there that you can use to code in Python, but the one that I will, there is also PyCharm, there is Eclipse, and Spider Visual Studio Code. So let's jump right into it. If you have any question on how to use Visual Studio Code or get it started within the iPattern notebook, just feel free to let me know. All right, so I have my empty list. Okay, I'm going to run it, and here it is. I have it. Let me actually, so like this, you can request the outputs from the empty list, and that's what you have. There's another way also of getting an empty list, which is list with parentheses, and this is what I did not talk about in the lecture, but I just wanted to show you how it looks like in the demo. And same thing when you request the output, you get brackets. All right, so we can create let's create an empty list. My list equals 4, 5, 6, and let's see, I forget my list. All right, when I do this, and when I request the output, I get the element within the bracket. And remember, lists are within bracket and separated by commas. I want to show you something very interesting, type of a popular manipulation that most people use with lists. I'm going to include the variables, variable x or t plus 2, okay, for t in 4, 5, and 6. Okay, so what this is going to do is this is going to loop over every single element of this list, and for each element is going to add a 2. So t will stand for 4 first, add it to 2, 5, then add it to 2, and 6 added to 2. So when we request the result, it's going to give what? It's going to be 6, 7, and 9. So let's look at the result. Let's see 7 and 8, sorry, because you're adding 2. There's another another process that I didn't talk about as far as the list is concerned, which is looping, and this I kind of went ahead of myself. For t inside 4, 5, and 6, what I want to do is I want to print each element of my list. Now, in terms of syntax, what t will stand for, t will look at every single element and print it. So this is a very useful piece of code that you want to kind of pretty much memorize, and very useful. So what it's going to do is going to output every single element, okay? And you can do also the same operation that we did before. So adding 2 to each element will give you 6, 7, and 8. All right. Let's start talking about appending, just like I talked in my in the previous lecture. So I want to append my list. So let's first find out what's inside of my list. So I have 4, 5, 6, and I'm trying to append 7, for example. So what I can do is add the dot append, and I want to add 7. It could be anything else, of course. It could be a string. It's still gonna work. So if I request the result of my list, what's inside of it, I see now that 7 is inside. So that's a pretty nice way of appending. Now we talk about counts. I have I'm trying to let me actually append another 7. So um, let me copy this and add another 7. And when I request my list, I have 7 twice. Now I'm going to ask Python to give me the number of occurrences that are for each for the number 7. So I'm going to have my list that count 7, right? And it's going to be 2 because 7 appear twice within my list. How about maybe count the number of occurrences of 4? Counting the number of occurrences of 4. So it's going to give me 1, of course, because 1 appears only once in my list. All right. Now let's talk about extend. And as I was explaining in the PowerPoint slide, I can add a bunch of elements within another list. So if I decide to add E and F, that's how the syntax will look like. Let me actually close this. That's how the syntax will look like. And the result, if I run this and request my list, I get a list within a bigger list, if that makes sense. Okay, the append function, also possible to use the extend function instead of the append function. All right, and if I request my list, all right, so I guess I added that twice. So the difference between append and extend: append is we add a list in itself, and extend will break the list that I add into piecewise element, if that makes sense. All right, now we can use another function that I did not discuss in the lecture, which is called pop. So my list that pop, let's find out what it does. That pop remove the last element of the list. So if I have my list with all these elements, it's going to remove the last element, and the last element here would be F. Okay, so let's try that. My list.pop, and that's what is showing you actually the element that it removes. And when I request my list again, it's going to show me all the remaining elements. All right. You can also use the dot remove function. So my list that remove, and that remove with that remove, you can specify exactly what you want to remove from your list. Say for instance, I want to remove the number 6, right? So I want to remove number 6 from my list, and this is what I get. If I request my list again, you can see that 6 is no longer available. On my list, you can also sort your list that using the sort function is going to reorder every element of within your list. Okay, so my list.sort, when I request the results, all right, so so you can also use my list.sort, which is also something I did not talk about. But before using it, sorting is better that you have some homogeneous list before you can sort it, because Python is going to be confused as what to sort if you have to sort 7 and E. So I will highly suggest that I remove I remove the last two elements by using maybe pop twice. So let me look at my list. Okay, and my list again, that pop. Now if I have 4, 5, and 7 is already sorted. Say for instance, this is already sorted, but let me add a 3 at the end and see that what do? We append a 3. Okay, when I request my list, I get 4, 5, 7, and 3, correct? Now if I can sort my list, and this is the syntax for sorting, and when I request the output, you can see that the list is well sorted. Now let's talk about the descriptive statistics that I was mentioning in the lecture, which is the different operation like mean, max, and sum. All right, so as far as the descriptive statistics, if I can request the mean of my list, and again what it's going to do is sort. It's already sorted, but it's going to take the index of the list of a sorted list. That's pretty much what it's going to do. Same thing with max. If I request the maximum, he's going to sort in reverse order and take the inverse and take the index of the first. All right, how about the length? The length is 4 because you have 4 elements within your list. And this is pretty much it. I mean, there is tons of manipulation that you can do with list. And this is pretty much what you need to know as far as manipulation of list is concerned, and very useful. Two very useful manipulation are the for loops, and that I didn't discuss in my PowerPoint slide, and also this is another way of doing the for loops within a list as well. These are both valid, and I also added a few other functions like that pop, that remove, and that I think that sorts. Okay, hope you enjoyed this video. I have a lot more coming. The next video is going to be about I will have actually two videos, one about slicing and indexing in deeper, and also tuples. So don't forget to subscribe to my channel for more content and for more help. If you want these codes, I can send you a copy. Just send me an email and you will get served. Thank